Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast, episode two of season two. We're so excited. On this episode today, we interviewed Xavier women's lacrosse player Katherine Gurd as we talk about her career with Xavier, her high school career, as well as her viral moment during the college football playoffs a couple years ago. I know Abby had a lot of fun talking with her about that. And then on today's episode, we also preview the Big Ten. We're starting our conference previews, getting ready for the upcoming season. So today we're going to do the Big Ten. Abby, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to go over the Big Ten and excited to keep these segments going. It's really exciting. And yeah, excited for the
Yeah,
season.
yeah, for sure. One conference down. I don't know how many conferences there are, which is probably a bad thing to admit on a podcast. I think like eight or nine, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an interesting season for the Big Ten, especially without Izzy Skane and Aaron Kuykendall tearing it up for Northwestern the past few seasons. Obviously, the last couple of years, it feels like Northwestern's been sort of the clear favorite to win this conference. However, with the conference feels more wide open than ever before. So it'll be interesting to see if Northwestern can earn another Big Ten championship and sort of reclaim their dominance, or will another team take that crown away for them? Abby, I'll start with you. What's your prediction for this conference, just overall, and who do you think is going to win the championship this year?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you have Northwestern and the graduation of the two key players, Izzy Skane and Eric Wickedall. Well, it's definitely going to be a change for them, but I do think midfielder Madison Taylor, who led the team in points last season and is expected to be a key component. I definitely do think she's going to make a ruckus, as well as Michigan. I think coming off of a great 16 and 4 season, they have a lot to prove this year with a lot of key returning players. But honestly, if we're not thinking those two, then I think Penn State would be a great prediction championship win for them. They had such a standout season last year with an overall record of 10 and 4 with a 4 and 2 record in the Big Ten. They beat Northwestern in the season and they beat records for themselves. They beat Maryland and just showcased how competitive they are against high-ranking opponents. And it's just unfortunate that they fell to Northwestern in the conference championship last year. But I do think I would love to see an underdog team like that come out on top.
So you're going with Penn State, or you're going to take it's a revenge year for them?
I think it's revenge year for them.
All right, all right. That's a good prediction. To me, I think this conference is going to be wide open this year, but I think the championship is going to come down between three teams. I feel like it's going to be between Maryland, Michigan, and Northwestern. If I had to predict all the way in January, which is where we are now, I'm saying Michigan. I feel like they took a really big step last season, almost making to the Final Four. They didn't really lose a lot of key pieces from last year's team. I think their goaltending is probably the best in the country. And I feel like Jillian Smith is one of the best players in the country as well. I feel like it's just their year to, they took that step last year. They have that experience. I feel like it's now the year for them to finally get over the hump and win a championship. So that I'm going with Michigan. So it's kind of crazy that, Izzy Skane leaves and we're already thinking that two different teams are going to win this conference.
Yeah, for sure. She's just such a impactful player, and I think everyone, when you think of Northwestern, you think of those two players immediately. So it'll definitely be a brand new year for Northwestern, even though they are obviously still a great program and team. But it'll definitely be cool. So before we get too far ahead, is there a team that you're interested in seeing, or do you think will make a big impact on this conference this year?
Yeah, so the team that really stands out to me that I'm most interested to see this year is John Hopkins. It's going to be Tim McCormick's third season at the helm, and I feel like they've made a lot of strides in the past two seasons, winning a tournament game in McCormick's first season, and then going from 9 wins to 12 wins and just building up that consistency. But I feel like this season could be the year they sort of make that jump, kind of like Michigan did last season. I also think Regan O'Brien has quietly been one of the top players in the NCAA, and she keeps getting better. And she had a really good U20 World Championships for Team USA. And you also can't forget Ava Angela, who's probably my favorite player in the country. She had 68 points last season, no sophomore slump for her. They just have a really solid team, and I'm really excited to see them play next year. And I feel like they're going to take that next step and be a big contender in the Big Ten. I'm not sure if they're going to win it, but I feel like they're going to surprise a lot of people because I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on John Hopkins this year.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, for me, I think USC is going to be very, very interesting to see with their transition from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. they're traveling and they're facing a brand new opponent. I think they're definitely going to have an interesting year, and their performance this year is definitely going to tell a lot about the trajectory of the next few years for them. But I also am interested to see Northwestern, again, with losing key players like Izzy Skane and Eric Wickedall. How will they replace the two major components and go to the top for another year? They can either rise to the occasion and continue down a really good path, or unfortunately, they can just crack under pressure of not having those two key players on their roster anymore.
Yeah, Oregon's another team that I think people should look out for as well because
Yeah.
Jessica Drummond had a really good first year with that team. I thought they were quietly like improving a lot last year, and I could see them surprising some people as well, especially since maybe people don't notice them that much since they're so far out west. But that's another team I'll be interested to see, especially since Drummond has done such a great job with that program so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, it might be crazy to already think about this without the season already beginning, but I do want to get early prediction on the Tewaarton Award. Obviously, Izzy Skane has been getting a lot of those the past couple of years along with Charlotte North, but I feel like it's going to be kind of wide open this year, which is going to make it exciting. So, Abby, I'll go with you. Who's your early prediction to win that award?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's going to be Emma Lopinto out of Boston College. She made an impact there the second she got there. She had 86 points in 23 games. And I think being a senior this year and with all the experience that she has from two different really well-known programs and all the talent that she's accumulated, I can definitely see her having a better season than last year and coming home with that award. What about you?
As you talked about before, it's going to be weird to not see Izzy Skane or Aaron Kuykendall for Northwestern. However, I think it's good for Madison Taylor in a way because I feel like that's going to make her, in my opinion, the favorite to win this award. She had 83 goals in 1 year, which is insane to think about, but I feel like that offense is going to now run through her. So I think it's possible that she can even get more goals than that. She's one of the most creative attackers in the country, and I feel like she'll find a way to figure out how to score when teams are inevitably going to defend her differently, just with the different systems I feel like they're going to run. And in my opinion, I feel like she's poised to be the best player in women's college across the next couple of years. I think you've seen it before in her freshman and sophomore year, but now I feel like it's going to be her turn to sort of shine. And I feel like she's kind of the favorite to win that award. In my opinion, it's between her and Emma Lapinto. So I'm looking forward to see how she does this year. And so that'll be my prediction to win it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Madison Taylor, being such a young player, it's so cool to see her continue to progress instead of just falling back and having one great year. So I am really excited to see what she does this year and if she can come out on top with that award as well.
Well, now let's get on to our second interview of the season with Catherine Gurd. Abby, I'll let you introduce this one before we transition to it.
Yeah, so Catherine, I grew up with Catherine. We played club together. She now plays at Xavier. She's a junior defender and one of my good friends. So I'm very excited to have her on the podcast. And yeah, let's transition over. Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's podcast, we are joined by Redshirt Sophomore on the Xavier women's lacrosse team, Catherine Gurd. In Catherine's NCAA lacrosse career, she has played in 15 games and has 14 ground balls, 6 caused turnovers, and 1 draw control. Catherine has been named to the Big East academic team and was a 3-year captain in lacrosse in high school, posting 28 ground balls and 14 caused turnovers during her junior season. She earned first team all conference and first team all region honors her senior season. Catherine helped lead her team to back-to-back state runner-up finishes in 2019 and 2021 and is a state champion in 2022. She is the Peach Bowl girl and one of my very good friends. So welcome to the Draw Control podcast, Catherine, and how's everything going?
Great. Thank you for having me. This is such an exciting opportunity to be here, especially talking to one of my former teammates from high school and club. Everything's been going well. School, I am a biology major and I have a minor in management, so it can get a bit hectic at times with my major, but luckily I brought in a lot of credits from high school. So, like this semester, I was able to have no classes on Fridays and I had an all online class too. And then lacrosse related, this fall has been so much fun. I'm sure you guys may know, but we just added three new coaches onto our staff. And you would probably think it would take a long time for us to mesh, but really it was so easy. And our personalities and everything just mesh really well together. And I'm really excited for the season.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was your off season and your fall ball like in regards to training, and what are some things that you guys have been working on to prepare for this upcoming season?
So in fall, we focused a lot on like the fundamental stuff, which can really just grow your game after that. So like ground ball, stick work, footwork. And we focused also on the speed of play because bringing in quite a few freshmen, like they don't know yet. So fall ball was really a learning experience for the new players and the speed of play that being a Division One athlete brings. And then some things I've been working on over winter break have been footwork for defense and just a lot of conditioning.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you, you have a lot of new players on your team this year, so how have they looked? And as one of the, I guess, more experienced players on your team, how have you helped out the new freshmen and transfer sort of join the team and sort of learn the systems and the culture and the things like that?
Right. Yeah, we have a lot of great new freshmen. They have just been like a joy and they're really like evolving and meshing in like really well with our team. So as a captain and with four of my other captains, we really wanted to focus on the foundation of Xavier Women's Lacrosse because this is our first year having captains on the team. So we started these pillars, and we have five different pillars, which is one of them is uncommon, resiliency, accountability, service, and then I believe the other one is class. So we really harp on these and have the freshmen and everyone else on the team fall back on them just to remember like what we're really about as a team. And I think it's worked really well and allowed us to connect and grow our chemistry on the team.
Nice. Do you have any like team goals and expectations for the upcoming season?
Yes, we do. So we have a couple of goals. One of them is just to play confidently. Being a third, or it's our third year as a program. So we really just want to hit the ground running and show our confidence. We want to, like I said, establish the foundation of Xavier Women's Lacrosse, which we have been doing, and it's been going really well. And then winning a Big East game is one of our priorities that we think is just going to be, it's going to happen this year. So, and we have a team motto, which is Hungry Dogs Run Faster. And this is just kind of like what we use as motivation to push each other on and off the field.
Yeah, I'm curious if you have any individual goals as well for the upcoming season, especially as a captain. Like, is there any leadership skills that you want to implement on some of your teammates? And is there any personal, like, statistic goals that you might have as well?
Yeah. One of my individual goals is just to be a defensive threat on the field. I haven't figured out the statistics yet, but definitely exceeding what my stats were last season for sure. And then I think just as a captain, I just want to be there for my teammates. I know that, especially with the freshmen, having your first season in season is crazy and hectic. And I think whether it's on or off the field, I just want them to know that I can be there for them because it's tough balancing school and lacrosse in season. And I just want to make it as easy as I can for my teammates.
Yeah, definitely. So let's transition back to the beginning of your lacrosse career. So being from New Albany, Ohio, talk about growing up there and how did you kind of start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, um, lacrosse is not big in the Midwest, or it wasn't when I was little. So Abby, you were there with me, but I think I started in third or second grade, and we have an amazing group of parents that just love sports, and our dads were our first coaches. And mind you, my dad has never picked up a lacrosse stick, so it really
I
was
have
just,
either.
yeah, it really was just something funny. But we had such a blast, and they would just always get involved. And winning like the Ohio Cup in eighth grade and seventh grade. Like it was just such a fun experience to have your parent be the one coaching you, especially because these are like life skills you're going to use as you get older. And yeah, it's not a big thing in Ohio, so learning lacrosse was definitely very different than growing up in the East Coast and learning lacrosse.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it made us appreciate it more just
Hmm.
because we were with all of our dads, all of our friend groups' dads were our coaches
Hmm.
for years. And they never, I mean, we did so well too. That's the funny thing is
Yeah.
they knew nothing about lacrosse and they just made it such like a good, fun game that it made me love the sport. And I'm sure Catherine, like you love the sport just because it wasn't as serious and
Hmm.
like everything we did was just for the fun of it. And we ended up doing really well and we grew up all together playing. And I just think looking back on that now, it's so fun to see the sport grow, but it's also like bring the fun back to it. I think that was
I
so
know.
fun.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's still like, I know Megan's mom is still coaching. So
Yeah.
I just love seeing like our parents still involved with it, even if we're not playing for New Albany anymore.
Did you have like a favorite player that you liked watching growing up or a team growing up in Ohio, or was it more of a sport that you played? Because obviously I wasn't involved, so I'm not quite sure if it was more of like a sport you focused on just playing, or did you actually like to watch the sport sometimes as well?
I think definitely playing it was a big aspect. I didn't really watch it that much, because my family's such a big football family that lacrosse wasn't that big of a deal. But if it was on, I remember watching the Maryland Terps because they were just, I mean, they are insane, but I remember watching them, and Lizzie Colson was one of like my favorite players as a defender. I just remember her like running 100 yards down the field or clearing the ball up or something like that.
Yeah. So what were your high school lacrosse experience? Like what, like kind of talk about your high school days
Mhm.
and what you took away from it.
Yeah, so my high school lacrosse career was kind of like a roller coaster, I would say. Obviously COVID happened during my sophomore year. So my freshman year, I was kind of like a swing player, so I was on the JV as well as varsity. Freshman year, we lost in the state championship game. I believe it was in overtime. I'm not 100% sure. And then sophomore year was COVID, and I was also named captain that year for varsity, which was like, I mean, that's not really heard of being a sophomore on the varsity team. So that was kind of just very eye-opening experience. And then junior year, we lost in the state championship again in the very last second. Um, it was not fun. So senior year, we did win the state championship in overtime against our rival high school. And I think just with my high school career, I learned just like grit and determination, and anything you set your mind to, you will get it done. And I think that was our team's goal of winning the state championship, and we got it done throughout. I mean, it doesn't matter how many years it took, but we made it work.
Do you have like any favorite high school lacrosse memories, or do you have any stories with Abby playing together in high school? I feel like feel free to share any of those you might have.
Yeah, I mean, definitely favorite memories winning the state championship, my senior year, Abby's junior year. And then I think just like core memories are just in the locker room or on the buses to games, and like we're just hyped up. Like we have the speaker. I remember this one vivid memory. I think we're on the way to the state championship, and we had like this chain. I don't remember why we had a chain, and Abby was wearing it while sleeping. And I just have this picture of her passed out or it was before the state championship game, but it was just so funny. Yeah.
I do think also losing the state championship multiple times and then being able to finally win it with the same group that we started with, I
Hmm.
think that was probably my favorite memory is like ending how we basically started. And
Yeah.
after so many times of losing and coming so close and losing in overtime and being like right there, it just made us want to win it so much more. And everyone was on the same page. And I think that was so cool to see.
Yeah, especially all of us starting at such a young age together. And all of us still in high school at that point, and it was like our senior year. You guys are upperclassmen as well. I thought that was just such a special experience, and having all of our dads there as well. I know all of our dads too were just like a part of the team, even if they weren't coaches. Like my dad was filming it, like Mr. Carson was on the sidelines doing stats. Like they're just involved as much as they can be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you also played club lacrosse for Impact. So how did that experience help you for college lacrosse?
Yeah, I feel like club like immensely helped me prepare for college lacrosse. I think club allows you to get outside of your comfort zone when you're playing because in high school, like you're to these strict rules, like you have certain plays and all this stuff, but in club, like you can go play, be as aggressive and as gritty as you want. And I think that the speed of play in club was different than high school for sure. And you're playing against these top recruits that you aren't able to play against in high school, especially on the East Coast. So I think that that also helped. And then you also learn like the business side of the recruiting process. So you learn how to like advocate for yourself, sending emails to coaches and trying to just get your name out there, as well as like communicating with your club director and coach throughout the whole process.
I definitely do think it's crucial, especially being from the Midwest.
Mm.
I'm sure you can attestify to this too, is like going to the East Coast and playing girls that you'll never play in high school, that you're never going to get the opportunity to even be on the same field with until hopefully possibly college. I think that was such a good experience to have, and not having many club teams in our area. All of us from all the high schools went to the one or two club teams, and it was really cool to see everyone kind of grow into really top recruits from being such like a smaller area.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
What was your recruiting process like with Xavier, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at? Because obviously Xavier was at the time when you were getting recruited wasn't really like a program yet. So I'm curious sort of what made you want to join a new program and help build that up, and what made Xavier sort of different from the other schools you might have looked at, both lacrosse wise and academically as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. One day my mom saw like a Xavier lacrosse camp ad or something or prospect day. She's just like, I feel like it'd be good for you to go. I was also looking at some other schools, but just kind of wanted more variety. So I was like, all right, let's go. Now keep in mind, I've never heard of Xavier and I've lived in Ohio my whole life. So I was just like, this is really weird. Didn't know it was in Ohio. But I had a blast when I went to the Prospect Day camp. To this day, some of my current teammates on Xavier's team will talk about like how well I played offensively that day, and that's just not my specialty. So I don't know where that came from, but maybe that was a sign. But I fell in love with the school and Coach Decker called me a couple weeks later and was like, I want you to come visit and do more of a tour. So we went down, and I loved it. And she ultimately was one of the main reasons too why I went to the school. Besides like the great academics at Xavier, and facilities and resources, Decker's values kind of aligned with mine. She harped on academics being a big priority, um, no matter if you're playing a sport or not. So I know like a lot of my team is pre-med and nursing, and I don't know a lot of programs that coaches allow you to do that as a major. So that was definitely one of them because I wanted to do pre-med. And she also talked about just like she values you as a human and not just as an athlete, and she wants you to be successful in life. And she talked about how you aren't always going to be playing lacrosse your whole life, and that's a big thing. So she makes sure that we do stuff outside of lacrosse, like community service and going to career day fairs just to like get our names out there. And she wants us to be a successful woman, and she'll help in any way that she can. So that was definitely a big part as to why I went to Xavier.
Yeah, I love that. So after redshirting your freshman year, from your perspective, what was the biggest adjustment that you had to make to kind of align with college lacrosse?
Yeah, so freshman year I broke my fibula, so I was out the whole season. And then coming back, my first season, the speed of play, I know I say that a lot, but that was just a big thing. It's a big difference coming from high school. And then another thing was just the toll that season can take on your body. After I got injured, I developed shin splints. So I have to like to this day stay on top of like my PT and my treatments in order to feel the best that I can. And I think just you have to really like advocate for yourself during season to make sure you're getting the right nutrients and stuff like that because it takes a big toll on your body.
I also want to ask you about what it's like playing in the Big East and the competition you face each game, because I feel like it's a conference that doesn't get talked about a lot. But you have
Mhm.
teams like Denver who obviously made the f Final Four last year, and you have teams like yourself, UConn. It just seems like it's a really good conference. So I'm just curious from your perspective as a player, what it's like playing against those teams on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, I think that the Big East like is definitely not talked about enough. It's like insane playing those other teams in the Big East because I feel like we're known for like our grittiness and our speed. And when you have two Big East teams playing against each other, like it's just crazy because you both have the same, like one team will have the same, like more amount of grittiness while the other team will have better speed or something. And it's just like such a great matchup to have because you have that rivalry of being in the Big East.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would you say has been your biggest improvement that you've made to your game since you started?
I would say speed of the game and then also my lacrosse IQ has just increased a lot.
And just talk a little bit more about your experience with Xavier so far and just your team's performance specifically last year and what you took away from it and how you think you can build upon it. Because I know you said one of your team goals was to win a Big East game. So I'm curious from the games that you played last year, what do you think your team can sort of do to take that next step and accomplish that goal?
Yeah, so last year I know we just always felt like there was a piece missing and I think it was more of like the culture aspect of our team and so like I said in the beginning, we got captains this year, and I think that's really like a big gap that we needed to connect. And it's allowing us to have and build that foundation for our program. And I think like our connection as a team and our chemistry on and off the field has been like no other season that we've had. So I think that's just really going to help our play when we get into season. And um I would say last year our team's performance, I know against like Butler when we played them, we were winning, I believe, like the majority of the game, and then it just kind of went downhill. So I know this year we've kind of learned about in the fall is that we have to know how to maintain a lead, and we've really worked on that throughout the fall, and I'm just really excited to see where that goes in season.
And I also want to ask you, how have you learned to balance academics and lacrosse at such a high level? You mentioned that you're a biology major, so I assume there's a lot of academic workload that you have to do, but you also made the Big East all-academic team twice. So I'm just curious how you learned to balance both those aspects of being a student athlete and sort of how you've learned to excel at that, because I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough when you talk to players, is how well they do academically sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, time management is a big thing you learn freshman year. And I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse to be injured my freshman year, but I think it might have helped me learn time management better in season. I wasn't really focused on playing the sport, but I was focused on getting better and healing while also trying to maintain my academics. So time management is a big one, making sure you're getting your homework done on the bus rides to games, back from games, like being a pre-med major right after the game and after you shower, you get on the bus, you kind of have to open your laptop right when you get on the bus. You don't have time really to take a nap or anything. So just time management. And we're so lucky at Xavier to have professors that are super understanding of our schedules.
Yeah, so let's transition into talking about the infamous Peach Bowl moment. So, for those of you who don't know, Catherine's brother and father both played football at Ohio State, and Catherine went extremely viral for watching one of the bowl games a couple of years ago. So when did you realize you went viral and how did you handle all of the attention that you got from that?
Oh goodness. I didn't know I went viral until the next day because it was New Year's night or whatever when we lost. It was like right at midnight, and I we all just were kind of in our depressive state after losing that game. So I didn't really go on my phone or anything. And then the next morning, everyone's texting me or like sending me these TikToks. I'm like, what is going on? I didn't even know I was on TV. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And I really don't remember how I handled the attention. I'd like to say that I sometimes tried to ignore it, but it was kind of, I didn't really know how to handle it, to be honest. It was just like kind of a thing that was happening on my phone, and I tried to just be like, oh, it's whatever. It'll go away probably soon.
Yeah, I remember that moment so vividly because we were all watching the game. It was New Year's Eve,
Mhm.
and Ohio State lost when New Year's Eve, like it was 12 a.m. and we lost. And Catherine came up, you came up on the screen, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, like Catherine. Like it was so funny, and everyone was sending you pictures, and it was amazing. So what was like the coolest thing that you got to do because of that moment? And did you meet anyone cool or anything like that?
Um, I didn't really meet anyone cool like in person. I've had like a couple maybe like interactions online or something. Like I'd get a couple DMs, and then I would say like the coolest thing was that I had like a couple interviews on TV. I don't specifically remember what channels they were on, and then I had like some NIL deals as well. That was like really nice. But yeah.
Would you say this is the best interview you've done? Because we get to talk about your lacrosse experience, not just that one viral moment.
Oh, for sure.
Let's go.
Definitely.
Number one.
Number one podcast and interview for sure.
Awesome, awesome. We'll put that on our promo, Abby, so
Yes.
we can use it to promote the podcast. But that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. I don't know how I would handle that. Was there like another girl too that went viral, like in
Yes.
another? Did you meet her as well?
I didn't meet her, but we like talked over the phone a couple of times.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, hopefully, maybe you can be. I don't know. Ohio State's playing the Rose Bowl this week.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm leaving tomorrow, actually.
Nice. So maybe another
Rose Bowl
part two,
girl.
part two.
Maybe part two.
Let's head in now to a segment that we like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where we ask you some non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. And me and Abby will answer these questions as well to make it a fun sort of conversation segment.
Mhm.
So first question is, if you could choose a celebrity to be your life coach, who would you choose?
That's a great question. I'm in between two. I would say Oprah Winfrey or Dwayne The Rock Johnson. One of those two.
I would say for me, I'm in between two, either Matthew McConaughey. I feel like he seems like a very inspirational, good guy, or Deion Sanders. I feel like he would like put me in my place when I need to, which I sometimes need. So that's who I would go with.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say Deion Sanders too, just because he's like I don't know how he comes up with some of the stuff that he does, but it's so like I don't know. I love it.
I love the bull junk saying when he's like,
Oh
"That's
my
bull junk."
gosh.
I don't know why. That
Yeah.
always makes me laugh.
Okay, what is something that everyone hates that you really like? For example, if everyone hates, or yeah, if everyone hates pop music, but you really like it.
Okay, I would say I really like the start of the weeks. Like I like Monday and Sunday, and I feel like people don't really like the start of the weeks. Like they just want to get till Friday just to like get their break on the weekend. But I feel like it's just like a fresh start. It's like kind of motivational. You get just a whole fresh new week.
I couldn't really think of one to be honest with you. I would say baseball. I like baseball a lot. I feel like people like ripping on that sometimes, so I'll go with that. That's a fun sport to watch. And the only thing that's disappointing is when it's August and that's the only thing going on.
Yeah. This is kind of a hot take, but airports, I don't know why, but and I feel like I should hate airports because I have such bad luck in airports, but being in an airport and like being able to people watch and see where everyone's going, I think that's so it's so like fun and like a good once a year, a few times a year type of a thing. So
What's been the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Oh, okay. For Christmas, my dad actually got me this. It's like I've never seen this before. It's like a three-in-one avocado slicer thing. So it like has a knife to like cut the avocado and that has like a deep pit thing. You take out the pit of the avocado and then like a scooper. And I like love avocados. Like I'll eat half of one every day. So
I love
I thought
that.
that was a really interesting gift I've never seen before.
I would love that. I
I
actually need
know.
one of those. I
I'll send you the link on
yeah,
Amazon. Pretty
please.
sure it's pretty.
I would say for me, since we're talking about bowl games, I don't know if you saw this, Abby, but there's this bowl game called the Pop-Tart Bowl. And
Yes.
there's like all these videos coming from it. And I thought it was the funniest, coolest thing ever. So I thought that was awesome. So that was a really cool, like just seeing all that stuff. And it was a good game as well. So I know that we have the Peach Bowl girl on the podcast, but I'd love to be the Pop-Tart Bowl guy. Like
Oh my God.
I love that. That was such a cool bowl game. And me and my friends were having a debate that should be a college football playoff game now. It should be because it's so funny and cool.
I would have to say that too. They come up with the craziest names for bowl games and like
But at least
it's
they're
a bowl
embracing
game.
the weirdness of it. Like they have the players eat out of a life-size Pop-Tart like at the end of the game. One of the Pop-Tarts came back to life and they made like a tribute video for it. It was so crazy. I thought it was
Too
awesome.
much.
Oh
That's
my gosh.
amazing. Okay, so which player on the Xavier women's lacrosse team has the best off-field style besides yourself?
I would say my roommate, Kate McDonald, has really good style. Or we have a couple freshmen on our team that have like really good style. Like I would say maybe Logan Jones. She's got like some swag. Like she always has the cute, comfy look.
Now, growing up, what is one embarrassing moment that you laugh about now?
Um, my mom used to be like my diving coach, and this was like her first season coaching, and this is the very first day of diving practice. And of course, I had to ruin it. And I'm walking up onto the diving board, and my back foot completely slips off the ledge, and I just like face plant down onto the diving board. My tooth chips like
Ooh.
completely in
Ooh.
half. Like it's insane. My two chips, I scraped my knee, like there's some blood coming out. I don't even know what's going on. And I think like my mom couldn't even help me because I think she was like throwing up from the sight of like what was going on. But yeah, we laugh about it to this day.
I would say for me, during hockey practice, we were doing this drill where we had to skate from the red line to the blue line and then backward skate. It was supposed to help like our edge work, and someone forgot to close the bench door. And I was going really hard in practice, trying to impress the coaches so I can make the lineup that day. And I fell in the bench because I wasn't paying attention. And that was pretty embarrassing because it was in front of all my teammates. So that would be mine. But it's funny to laugh about now because I like hop back up.
I would have to say, so when I was younger, I wanted to be my sister so badly because she was a big like musical person and she loved going on stage. And I had like horrible stage fright growing up. So I don't know what came over me, but I decided to go into a play and I could barely read at this point, and I got lines. And like, who gave a girl that couldn't read lines? I have no idea. But the entire thing was just so embarrassing for me because I was also very quiet and I didn't get a mic. So I had to like project my voice. And I was not used to that. I hated the whole thing. And I never stepped on stage for a musical or a play ever since.
Well, at least it made you a good lacrosse player, so that's
Yeah.
one
And that's
Yeah,
when I
positive.
that's
decided to
true.
play a sport.
True.
Last non-lacrosse question is, what is one place you would love to travel to soon?
Ooh. I have two, either Greece or Bora Bora.
Oh,
Abby, you just went to Europe, so I don't know like what
I
you would
I
did.
say.
know.
I did just go to Europe, and I would say I would love to go back there again. Anywhere that I
Nice.
didn't get to see would be amazing.
I would say like New York City. That would be cool.
Mm.
Just like to see like all the stuff there.
Have you
Or
ever
like
been?
I have been like a long time ago, so I'd like to go back. Either that or Toronto. Toronto looks like a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
Toronto would be cool.
Somewhere
Sure.
like where it's like not super hot because I get me, I feel like it's when you get a little too hot and humid, it can be a little bit uncomfortable to like be around a city.
Yeah.
So somewhere a little bit cooler.
Okay, so back to some lacrosse questions now. What should be done to help grow women's lacrosse?
Good question. I know like when we were growing up in the Midwest, like lacrosse is not heard of in Columbus, Ohio. And I remember having to like travel to these play days or whatever it was to just like get some experience and some practice. And I think that where lacrosse is not very popular right now, we need to like have it more accessible to those people to be able to learn it and understand it and just like get some experience with it. So I think maybe just like as an example is have like some tournaments somewhere else other than just like the East Coast or like all the way on the West Coast, like somewhere in between if possible or just some like clinics or something like that.
I totally agree with that because growing up, so much money was put into traveling to these tournaments. And like some girls that didn't even end up wanting to play in college, they spent all that money to go to these clubs, to
Mm.
go to these tournaments on the East Coast. And most of our summers were spent just doing that and going from Maryland to Virginia to New Jersey, and you would just stay out there for weeks at a time. While the girls that live out there can just go home and still have the
Yep.
summer on top of it. So I do think having more um, clinics and whatnot in the Midwest or in not big hot spots, I think would definitely help a lot, especially with parents.
Yeah.
Now, before we end this podcast, do you have any shout outs you want to give and who should we have on the podcast next?
Ooh. Shout outs, I would say my Xavier women's lacrosse team. And then like just any former teammates, aka Abby, and some of my high school lacrosse teammates as well. And then have on the podcast next, I would say Katie Kochek.
Have to get her on here. She
Yes.
plays for Ohio State.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Catherine, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know Abby does as well. It's great getting the chance to talk to you and learn more about your lacrosse career and everything like that. So it's an honor getting the chance to talk to you and wish you all the best for the upcoming season. I know you're going to do great things.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an amazing opportunity, and you guys are doing amazing work.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.